Hello and welcome to Stories, the True and the Fictional, the podcast that revolves around one central theme, stories and the people that tell them. We'll talk about movies, TV shows, video games, historical events and weird news headlines. There's really no topic we won't touch. But it doesn't stop there. If you've got a story, something funny or random that may have happened to you or a friend, send it to thetrueandthefictional@gmail.com. Until then, it's story time.
In honour of Chris and Jamie, here comes a special story. The first read-through of a script was always exciting for Kat Graham. It was the start of production, and it was also where each actor could show what it was they were bringing to the roles they had landed. Kat still couldn't believe her luck. She might have dominated TV screen as Bonnie, the strong and feisty witch, but now was her chance to be the lead role to what would surely be a blockbuster. Flipping through the script, she had spent several weeks memorising and falling in love with, she lost all sense of time until the director himself came to collect her for the read-through. Ready to give life to Holly Croft, he asked, excitement shaking his body. Nervous, more like. Seriously, don't know how I am expected to pull this off, Kat humbled herself. It's not every day she got to play the part of a strong yet gentle female lead. She was so used to being the kick-ass that it would be nice to show a more mature side of herself. I should be grateful though. My co-star has an even bigger challenge, she chuckled. Really? How so? The director asked, his curiosity piqued. I can't imagine you finding anyone who could match up to Damien Kingston. He is the epitome of every woman's fantasy. An alpha, a man who is described as a god, both physically and emotionally. I haven't been able to think who you could have snagged for the part who could achieve it. I guess I should go home then, her voice said from behind her. Oh crap, Kat thought to herself, as her eyes widened. That voice was unmistakable, and she didn't dare turn around in case it was a figment of her imagination. Every woman alive would melt into a puddle just by hearing that voice. And ever since seeing him as Geralt of Rivia, it had become the impossible dream to work with him. You might have heard the expression, he cleans up nicely, and most men think that's what women really want. But in actual fact, it's the opposite, since Henry Cavill made the entirety of her gender drool over his grimed-up state. Kat Graham, meet your future Damien Kingston, Henry Cavill, the director smirked. She might be a great actress, but right there and then, Kat could not hide the shock on her face or the sudden flush to her cheeks. Slowly, she turned to see it was in fact her dream come true. Henry freaking Cavill was going to play the lead in the movie. He was going to be the alpha every girl dreamed of, manhandling her in a bedroom, but sweetly taking care of them in quiet, intimate moments. Hi, she breathed out and came to her senses quickly enough to reach a hand forward in greeting. Henry grasped her hand with his rather large one, and Kat had to use every bit of willpower not to squeal like a high school girl with a crush. Little did she know that when Henry had heard who his co-star was going to be, after he had already flipped through the script, he signed on the dotted line of that contract, and now eagerly awaited to reenact chapter 42, Pain and Pleasure. Someone in the distance called for everyone to gather around the large conference table, and in an effort to impress his co-star, Henry slipped into the role of Damien Kingston and slid his hand to the small of Kate's back and escorted her to a chair, then took the seat beside her himself. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, the director announced to gain everyone's attention. But even though she looked in his direction, her full attention was on the man beside her. His muscle arms lay upon the table, and she couldn't believe she would know what it would feel like to have them wrapped around her. The thought sparked something inside her, and an excitement she had never known before. Shall we get started on page 1 of Sparked Revolution? Kat let out a chuckle as she thought how appropriate the title was.
In the words of a famous actor in Star Trek, I'll just simply say, oh my. Well,
Oh my.
Welcome to a very special episode of Stories. I'm pretty sure the name is True and the Fictional, but I'd like to change it depending on if I remember the title correctly in time. I am joined, of course, by my usual co-host, a man who can masturbate simply with his mind, J.A. Bryden. How are you going, sir?
Oh, yeah, hands-free, apparently.
Hands-free. I mean, the Bluetooth of masturbation is in some sense. I mean, to think about that we have not pushed forward with some sort of technology on this is simply just, again, it's like we've said, we've invented the spear. That's good enough. We don't need to improve upon that. But come on, let us not think of the science involved. As you know, I'm all for the science. How are you, sir?
I'm all right. Yes, it's early in the morning. This is the first time we've done it in the morning, but I guess it's in the evening for someone here, right?
Indeed. And it is the evening for someone.
A very evening, I think.
a very special someone. We are
Neil.
Thrilled to have Neil, absolutely. We are thrilled to have with us our patron and sponsor, the legendary author, and soon to be publishing this fantastic book she's just read to us. I wonder what the copyright concerns on that would be. We have the lovely Rebecca Cassells. How are you going?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, I'm excited to be here again. It's always lovely chatting to you both, and yeah, it's really nice.
Well, thank you for getting up or staying up. I don't know what time it is in the Britain land. What time is it in the Britain land?
It is currently 10:15 at night, but it's not actually that late for me.
10:15.
This is early for me.
From my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, I've based my understanding on the British lifestyle on in-betweeners. So I'm not sure. So from my understanding, your night's just getting started. Is that not? Well, did that? I'm assuming that movie was somewhat accurate.
I think
the TV series.
Don't use me as the stereotype for all British people. I'm an insane insomniac in a way. Because like my day started at most of my days start at 6 a.m. and I don't normally go to bed till like 1:30 in the morning. So I don't judge British people by me. Granted, a few weeks ago I was up till like 5 a.m. So but that was special circumstances.
Yes, yeah. Well, you've heard it here first on the Kremlin radio. British people do not need sleep. Henceforth, invasion could be quite difficult according to plans. Now, we are obviously brought to us by you as a sponsor. Thank you very much. So I'll now give you this unabashed moment to promote your wares. So, Rebecca Cassells, where could people find your wares, and tell us a little bit about said wares?
Okay, so if you are very much wanting a story full of thrill, drama, and smut, then that's what I provide.
Excellent.
So I have 4 books out at the moment. Sparked Revolution, Heated Empire, and Kingdom Ablaze. They are the Rising Dawn trilogy. So it is, one of my friends said, who was one of the first people to read it, said, gosh, this is 50 Shades of Wolf.
Yes.
So, yes. So that might give you a bit of an idea of what my stories are about. Werewolves meet romance, but with a bit of drama and action in there. Well, a lot of action, to be fair.
It depends on the kind of terminology of action.
Yes.
I mean, it is. I mean, it's the same. It's if you like your video games where there's some story, then some action, then some story. Then this follows the exact same concept, just different kinds of action. Really dependent.
Yes.
Dependent.
Yes,
So,
different types of thrusts at different moments.
but some would argue greater or better depending on your viewpoints on thrusting. Now, you're obviously working on something new and exciting coming up, is that right?
Yes, so I've got a few books lined up. The 5th one that I'm working on is called Innocence Corrupted, which is yet another spin-off from the Rising Dawn trilogy. There are a few Easter eggs throughout those books, which will, when you read this 5th book, you go, that's why that character was there.
So you've laid the seeds early in.
And that'll be the same said for the next 5 spin-offs from that trilogy. I've got lots of spin-offs just from those 3 books because there's so many characters I just wanted to explore. Because my editor will tell you this, I have this nasty habit of going, right, how do I get a scene from point A to point B? And I go, right, I need a character here to do X, Y, Z. So I create that character to help move the story, but then I go a bit too far in thinking, well, I like this character and I want to do more with it. So I currently have what's called the book vault, where I write all my ideas and all my all the things that I come up with in this crazy brain of mine.
See, that ruined it. That ruins it for me because in my head you've got in all the detective shows when they walk in and there's that board and there's the timelines and the strings.
Yeah,
that's what I thought you had, but you just write them down.
No, I actually have one.
That's more sensible to have an insane wall.
I actually have something that my friends called the Sparked Bible.
Oh.
So it's a notepad that I just write everything down in, and it's they keep wanting me to publish that because it's got so much in it. But yeah, the next 5 or 6 books I've outlined from characters about that. But then I also have The Broken Cabin, which I'm writing, which is a bit more of a personal project. Now that will not be published straight away. I've actually entered that in for a publishing competition.
Ooh.
So fingers crossed for that.
Excellent.
And that one's a bit more of a there's no supernatural in it. It's actually based on a nightmare of mine that I had a long time ago. A nightmare that when I woke up, when you have a nightmare about someone and even though it's not that person, you can't help but hold a grudge against them the next day.
Mm-hmm.
I have heard that though being predominantly more of a I don't think a guy has had that, but apparently there's a common running theme of girlfriends being mad at their boyfriends for cheating on them in their dreams.
Yeah, I was very, very mad at my husband the next day, but it wasn't for cheating. It was for something completely different. But no, I had this nightmare because he used to always think about joining the army and things. And when me and him started going out, he decided against it. He stayed and developed, wants to see where our relationship went. But I always think, what if he had gone into the army? And I always had this nightmare of one day being, the worst case scenario. And I woke up actually angry at him, for that. And for about a few days later, he was like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine."
Of course.
This other book that I'm putting in for a competition is based on that nightmare. What would my alternative reality be like had he made that decision? And what me and my children would have done and all of that.
The Castleverse.
Yes, pretty much.
What an well, that one's coming, and then obviously, as we've recently now discussed, the copyright laws pending. We will the book based upon the script starring Cat Graham and Henry Cavill I'm almost certain using their names and publishing on Amazon is there'll be some kind of like legal issues.
Oh, you just changed them. You just tweaked the names.
Right. You can use public figures in fictional stories. You can. There is a loophole. I'll have to look up the exact legal thing on it, but there is a way of using real life people's names in fictional stories if they're already in the public eye. And you are allowed to use up to 25% of other people's written material. So, for example, songs.
Yes.
You can only put up to 25% of lyrics. I think that's the rule in this country, at least. I don't know. Someone probably will correct me. But it's like when you're promoting a book or something along those lines, without infringing copyright law, it's up to 25%.
Well, then that means that once all these projects are done, we will then discuss in earnest the category. A very I've decided what I want this book to be is short stories of Kat Graham and Henry Cavill in various different scenarios and settings. Chapter or two each is setting as a scenario, so we can really bypass the story and get straight to the smut, which is what everyone wants. Maybe some story, some setup. This is maybe So
maybe we need to make like a sub channel.
I think a running theme would be
where
good.
we read out the latest chapter like the latest short story every couple of weeks.
And I think some people might say, why are you picking those two actors? Are going, well, because we want perfection. We want the best of everything, and this is the best scenario. All right, this is happening. So we will figure out what the best scenario for our short stories anthology is. But once she's busy with her obviously insane amount of work, we will ensure that this happens, because now that I know that they're both public figures, now that this would potentially happen, we have to.
Would you settle for a screenplay where we actually get them?
Oh yeah.
I mean,
if we could get Henry Cavill to even like acknowledge my existence, I'd die happy.
Yeah.
I really would. Seriously,
Jamie, we need to build an army of bots and let's get on.
He's not only the epitome of an alpha male, but he's also king of the nerds.
Of course, he is our Lord.
So,
he is our Lord and Savior.
Our nerd and savior.
Yeah,
so
he ticks all the boxes.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that apparently I was reading, he stood firm on having his hairy chest in all his roles because he doesn't believe in for Superman. I think that was. Yeah,
not so much the hairy chest. It's just I want the raw. I don't believe in like waxing and things like that. It's like give me the man.
Yep. And I don't think I don't think there could be any more of a man than Henry Cavill as if you've listened to any of our episodes. I think we've all agreed upon this particular subject, and
we mentioned him at least once an episode.
In earnest, yes.
I know. Ever since I've been on.
I
think you're actually the source of that, Rebecca.
I believe that is true. In fact, that is the epitome of the source. So, again, thank you for joining us on this journey. We will obviously continue our discussions on this particular point, but if you want to pick up her book, support her works, support this exciting project upcoming, please go to Amazon and buy her works. Leave comments. Please also leave reviews to help obviously with the stupid Amazon algorithms, because Amazon algorithms are somewhat friendly depending on circumstances, but they can be somewhat damning as well. Now
you'll also follow me on TikTok now.
Oh,
TikTok.
For the young people, eh?
Oh, well, I had to make it an over 18s account because obviously smart. But
well,
yeah,
I would argue though, is it educational smart, which means that you could somewhat be, could you classify the smart as educational?
I could class it as every husband out there should encourage their wives to read it.
Yeah. Well then, actually, my wife did read 50 Shades of Grey, so I think she might enjoy this one as well. You
see, that's weird. My husband read 50 Shades of Grey and I haven't. I'm not joking. My husband's read it and I haven't.
I thought that was a staple of all women to read this book. That seemed to be the trend for a while there, or a period of time.
It was, but back then I wasn't. I hadn't sort of like found my inner reader back then. Because as we've previously discussed, I find reading very, very difficult. So until I started reading on my phone on apps, which was only like a couple of years ago because of lockdown and I was bored.
Yep.
And I needed 5 minutes away from my kids. I only really started reading a few years ago. And by then, the 50 Shades of Grey hype was well and truly over.
Right. So with that, with our planned anthology then of short stories, I believe it's the perfect time. We will release this on Audible.
Okay.
I think I will lend my voice to the male role. You can lend your voice to the female role. You'll have to learn an American accent, and I will have to learn a British one.
I can't do an American accent. I can do a Welsh one, but I can't do an American one.
Well, Cat Graham isn't Welsh.
Just put y'all on the end. Just put y'all on the end of every sentence.
Well, I
don't think she's also from the
friends.
South, Jamie. I'm pretty sure she's.
You got to start somewhere.
Yeah, I do have a lot of American friends, so maybe I can convince one of them to help me out.
With his,
Yeah,
yes.
Is her name Cat Graham?
Isn't it? Well,
Angela, you owe me one.
That would be fantastic. Then I'll have to obviously also practice my British and get a British accent down packed, or try to in any sense.
I can definitely help with that.
Excellent. That's the one. That's at least we'll have a coach where I can learn some kind of British. I have apparently some people say that I sound somewhat British. No, I just speak the King's English correctly.
It's the way you say no.
Story.
It's the way you say no.
Is this?
Yes.
No, Chris.
No.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there you go. I did because my boss, when one of the companies I work for, actually asked me like, so what part of the north of England were you raised in? I was like, what do you mean? And she went, your accent, the way you speak. And I'm going, well, actually, my English teacher that was from Leeds, and so I think I might have eventually picked up some habits. Interesting. There we go. Did not know
See,
that.
I've got to practice my Welsh accent more now because I'm in a panto with my daughter, and but as soon as the director found out I can do my heritage is Welsh. That was it. The Welsh accent had to come out. So,
do you speak the traditional Welsh, or is that?
I know a little, only a little, but only because I still have some Welsh family in Wales. And,
apparently, reading signs can be quite exciting.
I say I can say Octi and Nostar, and I can tell you to shut your mouth in Welsh.
Oh, see that's at least some of the. That's all the key things you need to know whilst going to Wales. Also, how to sing in a choir, play rugby, and also subtly hate the English. So I guess all the things you need to know whilst being in the Welsh. Now, we normally go around the table and talk about interest, but before we spin off into the various points of where my mind jumps around like some sort of cocaine rabbit, and I have to, I'm actually trying very hard not to have it going on the spirals. I want to talk to you quickly about something in your book that I want you to address. It is also based upon the name that I have on Zoom. The implied incest of the werewolf stories. You didn't seem to lean not too heavily into it. Why is this not the case?
Hang on, I'll just get my popcorn.
I didn't want my characters to have incest?
No, okay. Here's where I'm going with this logic of thought. They're all in a pack, which generally means they're a family, and yet they're in various relationships. So wouldn't you say, if they're in some sort of pack, that the genealogy of your character Damien Holly would, at some stage, even if maybe even their wolf spirit potentially, there'd be some sort of incest somewhere, or is that something that you're trying to somewhat avoid completely?
Avoid completely.
Why?
Because it's not something that me myself I'm interested in, and if I'm not interested, how can I be passionate about writing it?
Well, that's a valid point. But having said, given the Game of Thrones now and all the things, it's all in the mainstream eye. So I mean,
I can see maybe writing a couple of bad guys being that sort of way in crime.
Yes.
But I think for me, you know, if you've read all the books, all the people that meet and are all of a sudden mates have come from different packs.
Yes, it was
You
very
know,
disappointing.
What can I say? I can't please everyone.
Look again. I just assumed that this was the perfect channel for this particular common theme.
It is, and I have read a lot of books who go down that route, but as soon as, you know, you've got to remember, I do also, when people find out I'm Welsh, there is a lot of jokes thrown about certain proclivities that are associated with the Welsh. So, you know, it's
subconsciously avoiding basically base stereotypes, like, you know, us as we have to do as white people, as you know, as we're all white on this podcast, we have to avoid certain Anglo-Saxon things and stereotypes.
Yeah, I mean, it's you know, when you've been brought up a certain way your entire life, it's very easy to stick to a stereotype. And I try to avoid that because, you know, I'm a very, you either love me or hate me kind of person. I'm very, very bubbly, very, very chatty. And, you know, not everybody likes chatty people. So some of my characters, I do base them off of other people in my life. I write what I know. So every single character that you've read about in my books, their personality and their traits and their quirks, I have pulled from people I know. So yeah,
that is interesting. So on that, one thing I did notice when I was reading your books, that was somewhat different to the other books that I've read. I just wanted to understand what I guess what your thought process behind it was. Normally you would call them the smut genre, female smut genre, books for housewives. It depends on what the genre is. The males are detailed in such a way where someone could take out a pen and sketch them out perfectly, whilst the females can be somewhat of a ubiquitous blob of shape, size, or thing, where they hint around it. But though with your character, Holly, there did seem to be a very a sort of more firm vision of what you had in mind for. Was that intentional, or was that something that you didn't want to go down again a traditional path of the stories?
It was intentional because, like, I've always, it was actually part of a joke for my husband in a way. Because, you know, that whole game of you're allowed to have 5 famous people, that if they come knocking on your door, you're allowed to say yes, take me to bed. And
Henry Cavill.
Yeah,
we know your list, Jamie.
My list is 4 men and 1 woman.
Ooh.
Oh my.
Because there is 1 woman in this universe that, you know, I would never say no to.
Please do tell.
Anna Kendrick.
Oh, interesting.
Oh. Quirky in that sort of sense.
Scott Pilgrim's sister.
Very accomplished singer. Very accomplished. Yeah. Oh, that's okay. All right, Jamie. Well, let's try and figure out how to make that happen as well. Put it on the list.
So Holly is a bit more of like an Anna Kendrick sort of vibe to me.
Now that you've said that, I'm going, oh my God, I can see it now. Still think Kat Graham's a better choice though. So you know what? I'm just going to stick with my, you know, in terms of casting, I'm still going to stick with my, you know, casting. But no, that makes a lot of sense now in terms of Yes, I mean
that game is just fun for the family. I mean, I remember playing that game, you know, reading our 5 lists with my mum and my sister once whilst we were visiting my grandparents in Wales, and we were all like debating who our celebrities would be, and we thought my gran was asleep whilst we were having this discussion. She wasn't asleep, so she pipes up going, "What's this you're talking about?" So we explain it to her. And she goes, oh, okay, let me think about it. So my grandma
Lawrence of Arabia. I don't know. Like, what would
yeah,
the list
she
be?
had to think about it. And my
Sean
granddad was
Connery?
in the other room sleeping. So she's thinking about it, and then she gave us these 5 names. And my mom just goes, hang on. Mom, I think granddad's safe. Why? Because they're all dead.
Oh, damn. Actors probably of what James Dean, Sean Connery, like I don't know, like Alfred Hitchcock. I don't know how old
I always think
that is.
that could be one of your icebreaker questions for future.
Edgar Allan Poe. I don't know.
Yeah.
See, I enjoyed that game as well. Me and my wife played that game as well. Mine obviously was Nicole Scherzinger from Pussycat Dolls. I thought that was one of mine. Then I mentioned as a joke whilst I was in Hawaii on my honeymoon that she was also staying at the same resort as us, and then Christine was not entirely thrilled. So apparently it's only a game, not an actual reality. All good. We learn.
Yeah, see, another one on mine is Joe Manganiello.
Oh yes.
Oh,
See again, rugged man.
Exactly. Played one of the best werewolf characters there are out there.
That's right. He was in that series, wasn't he?
yeah.
Suki Sackhouse novels, Alcide Hervo.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
I do
good
have a
though.
type.
It is good though that your books do have a sense of female characters, because people complain a lot about what's that vampire book? Twilight. That's
Twilight.
They complain a lot about Kristen Stewart's portrayal of Bella, and I was going, actually, it's very accurate. Bland, androgynous, could be any female. She read the script, read the books, went, this character has 0 personality. I need to make sure that I bring this to the big screen. So, again.
And the rest of her career.
You can't fault her. Can fault her for her work in, The Huntsman and anything else I've seen her in, but for that one, no, she was at least sticking to the concept. Now, Jamie, apart from your improvements on the science of masturbation, what have you been up to this week, sir?
Well, other than work, I finished Big Bang. I finished all of Big Bang Theory, and
that is a good series.
It did stick the landing.
I've been saying that for a while now. Rebecca, have you seen The Big Bang Theory as a whole?
Oh yeah, The Big Bang Theory has proven to my husband that he is right on one particular occasion. It proved that he was right in an argument. Just once it happened.
Oh, but he has recorded evidence of being right in an argument. That's all that matters.
He was
all
right
men
once in his life.
Gain power from this, because he would have stood outside and silently nodded, and then all around the world, married men would have gained experience and power. This is how we share the power, and this is how, much like the squirrels during a cold winter, this keeps us going.
Yeah, but you see, the thing is, I was not brought up a geek. Okay, I was not. Okay. Until I met my now husband, and it's been one long media course for me, our marriage, and we were arguing as to whether or not I was a geek, because by that time I was playing World of Warcraft. I was watching, my favorite sci-fi show was Babylon 5. I'd watched all Stargate.
Yep.
And I was like, no, I'm not a geek. I'm an art student. I'm cool. I'm hip. But then we watched Big Bang Theory, and the episode where Sheldon and Leonard get robbed. He was trying to decide where he was going to move to, and he says, he decides Bozeman, Montana.
Yep.
I stupidly turned around to my husband and said, isn't that where Zephyr Cochrane launched the first warp flight in Star Trek?
Oh my!
That was it. That was it. He just turned to me and went, geek.
Oh, I mean, that is such an obscure reference that's not even. I'm sorry, that's not geek. That's beyond. That's now that's now being incorporated into a fan base beyond just basically saying I have a casual interest in things.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I would say that I'm a fan of actresses and beautiful women. But I would say Jamie's a casual fan of women in general. But just casually as a geek. But yours is more of a true underlying core of your personality now. So I think that means he had not. Look, you might win some small battles, but he won the war. So essentially, he Winston Churchilled you. What an outstanding victory that is. What an outstanding! He fought you on the beaches. He fought you in the streets. And he'll never give up, never surrender. Oh my! That should be a movie made about that now.
Yeah, it's like I can tell you.
Well, obviously, Rebecca Cassells will be played by. You know the answer to this, Jamie. Yet you asked the question. Yes, obviously, Rebecca Cassells will cast as Cat Graham.
Or Anna Kendrick.
Actually, it probably should be Anna Kendrick.
Fine, we will do Anna Kendrick, but because it has to be a love triangle, her husband will be played by Henry Cavill, and the sexy recruiting sergeant will be played for the army will be played by Cat Graham. Luring him.
It has to be in there.
Luring him to the career. And then it's like he's caught between the two. Oh my good, that again, that writes itself. I don't want to go on that. we're meant to be talking about Jamie's now. Jamie,
yeah. Look,
what else have you been up to, sir?
I watched we watched Black Panther, and then I watched Black Adam, which wasn't too bad. Pierce Brosnan was great.
Mm-hmm.
But the movie that got me this week that I watched was the Weird Al Yankovic biopic.
Interesting. And now you're saying that it's meant to be it's not a traditional.
No, because none of it's true. None of it's true.
Okay, so it is a send up. So I mean,
it's a parody of all the other biopics.
I'm glad that that's the case, because if you can't do a Weird Al Yankovic biopic and not make it a parody, because that's just off brand.
Yeah, but it's so funny. He the dude who wrote Hamilton's in it. I keep forgetting his name. Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Lin-Manuel Miranda.
That's it. Yeah, he's in it as a surgeon. Do you know who Weird Al is, Rebecca?
Yeah. Oh yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. My husband made my daughter watch a concert by Weird Al.
Because I keep meeting people that don't know who he is.
Really?
Oh no. If I didn't know Weird Al, I'd be divorced.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
fair enough.
It's worth it's worth watching. It's very funny, but they. Essentially, his girlfriend's Madonna, who she gets kidnapped by Pablo Escobar.
As you do.
And then Weird Al gets machine guns, and because
so
that's completely accurate.
So it's a serious take.
No, well,
on
it's I think it's played serious. Yeah, it's played pretty serious, but it kind of just escalates. Like its father.
Daniel Radcliffe.
Yeah, Daniel Radcliffe's in it.
Yeah, Daniel Radcliffe. So I remember watching an interview with Daniel Radcliffe explaining how when Weird Al was on set, they had to call him something different. When they kept calling Weird Al to the stage, meaning Daniel, they had to call Weird Al something different.
Yeah, because Weird Al is in it as well. And anytime Daniel Radcliffe sings, it's actually Weird Al's voice coming out of him.
Okay, that's good. Because you want that sound,
But it just starts, pretty tame, and then just escalates. Like his father doesn't want him to play the accordion. It's a devil box, and
Oh, outstanding! I love those stories.
I must say I watched it twice, 2 nights in a row. Just because the first time I didn't know what I was watching. I was just like, what is this? And then second run through, I just loved it. Very funny.
Now, speaking of Lin-Manuel Miranda,
mm-hmm.
Rebecca, do you feel that the Rising Dawn series will be your Hamilton, where then you'll be writing constantly, try to write something better than be remembered for the one thing? Or have you started to already think about new, different stories so you don't become a Lin-Manuel Miranda stuck in this one amazing thing he's ever written, and then people constantly ask him, why is your next thing not Hamilton?
Yeah, no, I actually think based on what people have already said, The Rising Dawn is not my best.
Oh.
It's actually the fourth book that people love.
Oh.
The fourth book, because it has such a twisted concept in it. And the characters aren't your damsel in distresses. They are your rough and ready and willing to fight characters. So far from what people have fed back to me, Accepting the Unacceptable is actually been better received than the first three.
That is interesting. I'll have to check that one out now, actually, now that you mention it. Is that something was that again intentional writing shift or just circumstantial writing in your part?
It's a happy accident.
Happy accident.
It was because the main character, Jade, again, was that first character that I actually used in the first book to get from point A to point B to give some contention to the story. Now, this is about the fourth book is actually, whereas the first three are about the humans and their walls are just in the head in the background as a plot device. In this one, the wolf is the main character, not the human. So it's a bit more animalistic. It's a bit more, for a female character, she's not exactly expressive of her like weepy side emotions. She's a bit more, no, I deserve better. I'm going to get better, which is a bit more kick-ass.
It is.
But there is also that fear of not being accepted, because obviously in this world, the wolf serves the human. It's there as a guiding spirit. It's there as a protector. It's there as someone to fall back to when you need help, because her spirit was given to a human who is just completely detestable to help protect others from her human side. She took over the wolf body.
Oh.
So she's walking around in Venya, her human's body. And I'm not giving any spoilers because this is all explained in the first couple of chapters, because this is something that's happened in the first few books. She's trying to find an existence where she's accepted, but obviously werewolves out there, other humans with wolf spirits, don't want it getting out that a wolf can take control of you.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That leads to some fairly deadly consequences if that's a possibility. That servant bond almost then becomes somewhat of more of a dicey gamble.
Yeah. So it is a very. I've not read any other books with anything similar to this.
No,
I've read it from the point of view where the wolf is bad.
Yeah, I'm trying to rack my brain around if that's been something that I can't even think about. That is where you've set up a world where you've got this concept of basically the wolf spirit is a guide, servant, somewhat of a friend, and then you've now gone to this almost like a twisted djinn scenario where wishes are, with the djinn obviously, but in the true mythology, wishes are always fucked up and he's always and he's a dick. But it's saying that they had this ability, they didn't use this ability, but in this circumstance she went, fuck, you know what, screwed, fuck this noise. Love it.
Because you've read the first book, haven't you, Chris?
Yeah, correct. Yes.
So the character Venya and Jade.
Yes.
It's that character.
Ah. Was that planned? Was that a planned thing, or is it something that you had to use for the just obviously it was obviously for the time being, was it a MacGuffin character, then sort of became into more of a It
was one of those where I just fell in love with the idea as I was writing it, And then when I was writing the second book, another character happened, and I went, this is perfect. This matches. This will come together really well. So from the first book and the second book, I took 2 characters from both books and went, yeah, it works.
Incredible. And so this will obviously then be your largest pieces of work going forward with that concept, or would you sort of swing every now and back to the traditional?
I have got lots and lots of story ideas, and they not, apart from the Rising Dawn universe, which will always continue because it's got so much more to explore and so many characters that I've already created that you've only seen glimpses of. That could be, and I've only touched really on the werewolf side of the supernatural verse, in that there's witches, there's vampires, there's other supernatural creatures that I've barely begun to explore.
Yes, I love that. That would be interesting to see your take on some of the other. Sometimes you call them tropey monsters, in terms of vampires are always sexy, or well, actually depends. They're sexy or just they're horrific creatures. There seems to be no sort of middle ground on that one. Witches are somewhat always forest dwelling lesbians, or well, actually that's a more modern trend where witches or what's some of the other stories of witches where they're wicked, evil, or bad. But in truth, there'd be a lot more. In reality, there'd be shades of grey and all that. So that'd be interesting also to see your take on some of those exciting creatures.
I mean, it's just one of those where I've got so many ideas, and it's just I've not got enough time to write, which is the shame, because I changed jobs between when I last spoke to Jamie and Ryan to now. So my new job now is a lot more hectic. But I am still writing, just not as fast a pace. Like the first book only took me 2 months to write.
Wow.
But since then it takes at least 6 to 8 months to write a book now.
Which is the more normal, probably what I'm not.
Yeah, that's the
person
normal,
would do.
right?
Like that's probably the more normal thing that
Yeah.
I would think that but look, that maybe give you some more time to stew on ideas, and rather than having to quick bash out a book. Jamie, I know that Jamie's working on several novels that he's procrastinating on, so maybe you can give him some advice in terms of how to speed up his production line in terms of
work less.
I'd say the best advice I'd have for Jamie is to have that one person in your life who actually supports and not just supports but nags as well. He's just muttered thanks in the background.
Excellent.
Neil's just gone thanks. No, it's one of those where my husband is very, very supportive of what I'm trying to achieve with my writing. So like when he comes home from work, he'll be like, "What's the plan for tonight?" And I go, "I haven't made any plans." But he goes, "Are you sure? Do you not want to be writing?" And I go, "Well, I do want to write, but if you want to," and he goes, "No, if you want to write, go write." So then that gives me the push to actually go and write.
And then he plays his video games.
Actually, no, it's now painting. He paints little figurines.
Oh,
Warhammer.
Well, from the thousands of dollars I have invested in said Warhammer, I understand the need of time to paint, as I have thousands of unpainted ones as well.
Well, he was very sweet. I got surprised this week with my absolute favorite video game character. He's secretly painted. He's bought one and secretly painted it for me. I don't know how long it's taken him, but he finally gave it me this week, and I nearly cried. It was Cloud from Final Fantasy VII.
Oh, a Cloud from Cloud. Oh,
that'd be pretty cool.
That is cool. Did he 3D print that, or did he buy it from one of
He
the sellers?
ordered it. He ordered it from an independent seller.
Ah, see, I've invested into 2 giant 3D printers, and so I've now been just 3D printing everything, which is
You can get the files.
Yes,
you can buy the files for it.
Because look, I've just 3D printed Godzilla.
That's awesome.
Like, that took 14 hours, by the way, to do.
Oh my god!
Because of how large it was. But then I was like going, "Yay! 3D printed Godzilla."
Which Godzilla is he?
That is we call him Fatzilla. So this is the modern Godzilla, where he's a little bit
fresh
tubby.
off the couch.
Fresh off the couch, Godzilla. little bit big.
See, my Christmas present last year was some walls to paint.
Oh, lovely.
And they're all going to be painted different shades for the walls in my book.
That is an interesting. So it's good that you're both like I said to Jamie, which he never listens to me. A strong marriage is that 2 people have different hobbies and they continue on and they keep those hobbies. Jamie, who
maybe you can help each other. Go. Like you can ring each other up and go, "What are your plans for this evening?"
Oh well. His wife already complains that we go out and do the wonderful things all the time, go on dates, and
we do. Yep. That is not an inaccurate statement. So, Rebecca, in terms of this week, though, have you checked out? Have you seen, read, or done anything from the pop culture universe that's seen some literature or movie that's been really interesting to you or inspired you this week?
Well, it's like I'm actually making because I've not finished watching Van Helsing on Netflix.
Oh,
it's been ages since I actually watched it, so I'm making my husband rewatch it with me. And he's just got up to the point where I'm like, I was dying for him to get to it. I don't know if you've watched Van Helsing on Netflix.
Is that the series?
Yeah, the series Van Helsing.
From memory, that one's about is that the one where she wakes up from the future or something?
Basically, a volcano goes off and the sky is covered in ash. So vampires who are mythical, are stories and don't really exist, actually come out of the woodworks going, hang on, we're not, there's no sunlight for us to be afraid of.
Oh.
And they basically take over the world. But this woman who's been in a coma and has been protected by this one army guy in a bunkered down shelter is actually the woman who can save us all, because she's like the anti-vampire.
As a Van Helsing bloodline descendant. Yeah. Interesting.
Exactly.
I heard about that series, never got into it because I think it was on some weird. It was probably one of the weirder channels at the time.
But when I found out that a certain character was being played by someone, and he's not a very well-known actor, but whenever I hear he's in something, I'm like, I have to watch it because he plays one of my all-time favorite bad guys in Stargate Atlantis.
Oh, who's that?
The Wraith.
Todd the Wraith.
Todd the Wraith.
Yes, I love that actor too. He's in everything.
Exactly. He's in it, and oh my God, does he's giving me nightmares because of his character.
Yeah. He was in Atlantis twice, Stargate Atlantis twice.
Yes, because he was Taylor's chief.
Because he's human and Raven.
Yeah,
there are only so many Canadian actors to go around a series. So
but this guy's underrated. He is so underrated.
He seriously is underrated.
You know the guy, Chris. He was Alistair in Supernatural.
Yes.
I do remember him. Yes, I do know that actor.
And a random episode of Falling Skies. Have you ever watched that?
Yes, I've watched that too.
He was in that. Yes.
Yeah, but I love that actor. So as soon as I saw him in the trailer, I was like, I need to watch that.
Yeah, because
Stargate Atlantis, I loved it, and Todd the Wraith was just one of the reasons.
Yeah, the last thing I saw him in was the Andrew Garfield show on Netflix. It's about he's like a Mormon detective or something.
Yeah, I've not watched that yet.
I got halfway through it. It's good, but it's pretty intense. But I just never finished it.
Yeah, no, no. Well, I've watched Van Helsing, but the other thing that I've watched recently is Arcane. Is it Arcane?
Okay.
Arcane.
I love the voice from the back. Okay.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
the League of Legends series, is that the one we're talking
yeah.
about?
I've watched that, and I did my usual thing of having to look up every single voice, because whenever I hear a voice, I recognize that. What is where have I seen that? What? So yeah, I did my usual thing of looking it up and going, oh my god, it's the guy from Suki Stackhouse novels.
I enjoyed that series when it first came out very much so. I recommend it to Jamie, but much things like when I recommend things to Jamie, if I say they're good, he will intentionally not watch them because he is a contrarian personality, so he'll dig his heels in on certain issues and then refuse.
I always say
I'm like that.
I'm
like that.
We've been through this.
My husband will say I need to watch them. I'm like, oh, maybe later.
No, I quite literally put it on the list because I'm like, I will watch one thing all the way through, like I watched Big Bang Theory all the way through. You know?
But you don't matriculate down the list. You go Big Bang Theory, which is your latest newest thing, and you go, I'm gonna go back and watch Castle all the seasons. Then you go, I'm gonna go back and watch Scrubs all the seasons. So there's about 6 shows you now watch perpetually, and we keep telling you like, hey, here's a new thing. You're like going, oh, yeah, it's on my list. I'll definitely get to it. Once I go through my 10th viewing of Scrubs, I'll spin back around.
Well, stop mentioning Scrubs, because now I feel like watching Scrubs.
Oh, you see, this is
you've got to stop doing that.
See, I'm the same though. I rewatch Buffy, Angel, Charmed, Supernatural. Again, you can see a common theme here.
I'm sensing a theme.
Now let's talk about Supernatural. How do you feel? Like, because me and Chris are very like, what seasons 1 to 5? That's it, no more.
No more, no less.
Why would I stop watching Jared Padalecki and Jensen Ackles?
See, she chose looks over
story and craft. Okay.
Yeah, but no, because you assumed I'm talking about their looks. You assumed. I did not say it. You assumed. I might be talking about their acting capabilities. I might be talking about the fact that they have him and Misha
Collins.
Yeah, Collins. You know, I love Misha Collins.
He's great.
I've got a friend who does the Gish Wish every year because of him.
Like his first episode is like possibly my favorite Supernatural episode.
Yep. Definitely
no, my favorite one, it has to be when I think is it Sam or Dean goes to an alternate verse where he's human and he just like starts this cult of women that he just.
Yes, yes, I do remember that one. That was a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. That has to be one of my favorites.
But you continued on with the series past the point where it should have ended.
Yes. I mean, I just couldn't stop. You know, it's there's always something that they're trying. I mean, I made a game of betting with my friend as to which one would die next and come back. You know, we always played that. Which one's going to die next?
Yeah.
And how many episodes until they're resurrected?
That would be a fun game because your numbers on like that's a surefire story point that seems to happen way too often. That almost makes it's almost like death is irrelevant because it's too simple for them to come back.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, there was that episode where they go to heaven and they meet that angel dude, and he's like you've been here so many times, like you've died and died and died and died, and we just keep sending you back.
Yeah.
See, that was good for that story arc.
Yeah.
That made sense. Then the story ended at a wonderful place. And then they decided, you know what? Let's keep going. Let's continue on the good times. There are so many new fans who enjoy the implied incest between the brothers that let's continue on let's continue on. So there you are, Rebecca, supporting implied incest. I see. Fair enough.
Yeah, but can you blame me when they've picked 2 fine specimens?
See, she admitted at that time.
Well, yes.
Not about looks. You assumed. Again, you assume.
Assume. Yes, you assumed accurately. How dare
Okay.
you make an accurate assumption based upon the knowledge that we provided?
Yeah. The thing I will say about Supernatural is it's the perfect escape for a bad day.
Yeah.
It really is.
That
Because
makes-
I tell you what, no matter what, Sam and Dean are having a worse day than you.
Oh, I was thinking you're watching the later series, going, my day's terrible. Sitting down and going, but the plot, the structure. Oh, this is. I feel better at my own day. So maybe
Yeah.
The continuity.
It's like
continuity.
the only reason you watch TV shows like Love is Blind and Love Island and things like that is because watching, these very nice looking people finding it so difficult and having car crash lives make you feel so much better about your own life.
There is something to watching a train wreck and accident. There's something. I mean, that's the same reason why in America they watch car chases. They cut live to car chases in the news because everyone wants to see what is going to accidentally happen potentially.
But yet, Chris, you couldn't make it through Man versus Bee.
No, I could not.
Have you seen Man versus Bee?
No, I haven't watched that.
You know what it is?
It's too stressful, Jamie. It is too stressful.
It's Rowan Atkinson and his house sitting in like some state-of-the-art house, and a bee keeps getting in. And
Okay.
it basically ends. It's all about this bee driving him insane, and he ends up burning the house down.
Okay.
It is very funny, but it's hard to watch.
It is. It's one of the most painful things to watch because it's stressful. Like again,
It's Mousetrap with a bee.
Yeah, but probably worse. Like
Okay.
watching something.
like the situation's worse.
Watching something actively stressful like that is just. I enjoy entertainment, but I don't. But watching that was just like I just felt like I was actually actively getting stressed, and I had to like leave the house because I was like everything is going wrong in every possible scenario. I mean, I credit the writing and the work on that, but no, I will not be finishing that series. I could again 2 episodes was enough. Love it. I respect the craft and I respect how good it is, but I can't make it more through than the two episodes I watched.
You see, at the moment, over here, you might be aware of what all of England is watching right now. I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here.
Why?
Yeah, why?
Because it's got the nation united in one task and one task alone, and that is to make the one MP stupid enough to go on that show do every single horrible task there is.
Oh, that's funny.
In terms of uniting a nation, that seems like a fairly decent approach.
Yeah, it's got Matt Hancock on there, and I can tell you now, every single British person is dialing on their phone frantically, getting him to eat a camel's penis, which has happened.
Wow, wow.
You should change it to torture a politician.
I mean,
Pretty much it is. Since he's shown up on that show, they've made him do everything. Boy George.
I think we need to get some of our politicians over there, Chris.
No, but like again, from my understanding of this show, the British version is, they'll make the subjects actually do like horrible things, whilst our version will be like going, stand on your toes for 5 minutes. Oh, how horrible! Oh no! Like look.
No. We're mean to our people.
Yeah, exactly.
We're horrible.
We used to be mean, but now we're all like, hey.
The thing is, though, I don't think snakes and spiders and things are anything new to you guys.
Oh no, gosh no.
No.
Whereas to us British people who scream over a spider that big, or shall I say, my husband does. Yeah, our spiders are like mostly like maybe this big.
Yeah,
A mid-sized spider.
How's like this big?
Exactly. So sending British people over to Australia to confront big, massive spiders and snakes and rats, and then make them eat disgusting things like fermented vomit fruit.
Yeah.
Mm.
But our rats are actually quite cute. They're not like the ugly ones from New York or that you see in the movies.
They're a handsome rat.
Yeah.
They're essentially a large. They look like.
I wasn't sure that that actually existed.
Oh, they're well groomed. It's like they have baths and stuff. That's how they look.
If you think Australia exports, sexy Hemsworths and sexy Jacksons and all that nature, we should also start importing our sexy rats to the world and start showing them,
Yeah.
I'm going to safely say no. I think you could keep your rats. Thank you.
But also, we should also give people the huntsman's. You know what Britain needs actually, the huntsman spider.
Don't. You've just made my husband have nightmares.
No. Here's the thing: they are non-poisonous. They eat other spiders, so they actually decrease the spider population. And yes, sometimes when I'm driving my car, I will see a giant huntsman get out of my car somehow, crawl along the window of my car, and then go into another crevice of my car. And I'm going, how did that happen? Where are you living? Where are you living in my where are you physically living in my car?
Husband, I think your husband's freaking out.
Yeah.
And again,
how does he
I'm
feel
driving,
about snakes?
and so when you're driving, you can't,
No,
panic
I'm the one with the problem with snakes. I'm the
thanks,
one that.
yeah.
Do I
No,
have
snakes, no.
I have two stories. One, you might like. We're having dinner, and a kookaburra landed in the garden and picked up a snake and flew off with it.
I like the kookaburra.
A big snake. And then there's a story of a guy driving from Melbourne to Sydney, and halfway there, out of his bonnet comes a snake, and it wraps around his side mirror and starts tapping on the window. But that's rare. That's a rare.
But you see, when you come to Australia, we have a game which is basically called Carpet Snake or Brown Snake. It's a very fun game because one is completely harmless. One will kill you. They both look identical down to every single detail. And so you look at them and go, which one are you? Are you the one that's going to kill me, or are you the one that's not?
Yeah.
You see, I am actually planning a trip to Brazil.
Well, that's even worse.
I know,
No,
but there's a
time.
very good reason, because Jamie already knows, one of my dreams is to meet all of the brownie girls. Now I've managed to meet 2 in person since speaking to Jamie.
Ooh.
So one of them is in Brazil, and she's my editor, Kemily. I love her to bits. Oh my god, best ever woman to exist for aspiring authors. She's just amazing at helping. Well, she's in Brazil, and I am planning on taking myself and my daughter over there. Unfortunately, my husband's going to have to stay here with boys because I'm not taking them, because I do not trust them not to pick up a snake. I don't trust Alex and Franklin to never pick up a snake. And I just have this vision of them going, look, mommy, look what I found. And then me, I just have that in my brain. So my husband's going to have to stay at home with the 2 boys whilst I take my daughter gallivanting to a rainforest in Brazil, because Kemily actually lives in a rainforest.
Wow.
That's interesting.
So that's something I'm planning on doing. So I do have to somewhat be realistic about snakes, but at the same time, I can't promise I won't scream if I see one.
Well, I'm sure there's someone that you can push when you see one. So
my 8-year-old.
Again, going out running any monster, we all know you don't have to be faster than the monster. You just got to be faster than your friend.
That's true. Unfortunately, my daughter is faster than me.
Oh, that's where you've
all you need to do is put your foot in the right position, and it's all fair game.
Yeah, not when I've actually broken a small bone in my ankle.
So running will not be something that's.
I cannot run right now. I found out today that I've actually chipped a small bone in my.
We'll get you some of those cool shoes from the early 2000s, the ones with wheels on them.
That's on my daughter's Christmas list.
Oh, they're coming back, are they?
Yeah.
I thought after all the children face planted, they stopped using them.
No, they still exist, and my daughter wants Santa to bring her a pair.
Why?
She wants shoes on wheels. My son wants a hamster, and my other son's just like, I want to see Santa.
Well, yes, he wants viable evidence that he either exists or he doesn't exist, and I respect that. I respect that. I respect
He's
that.
4.
Again, viable. Again, that's a man who understands that you say something's real, but let's see some tangible evidence. Let's get to the brass tacks of it all.
Yeah.
Or he might have a complaint about a previous gift, and he might just have a.
My other son wants a hamster to call it Pikachu.
Pikachu. Oh.
Because Pikachu is a mouse Pokemon.
Ah.
Will you paint it yellow, and then like draw little stripes on its back?
I could.
Would he settle for an Australian rat?
Yes,
No.
we could ship you one, probably.
No, thank you.
Well, we'll chop off the tail so it looks more like a hamster.
Oh, sorry, no, you just no. That's just reminded me of something. Sorry, my sister was once traumatized by my granddad because we had rabbits growing up. Mine was Wizard, hers was Smudge. We were going away for a weekend, and we said to my granddad, when you come to feed the rabbits, do not let them out. You will not be able to catch them. We said to him, don't let the rabbits out. Because we normally let them run in the garden, and then me and my sister would have a game of catching them before they drowned in the pond or something. So we came back from this holiday, and my granddad said, I've got a gift for you, Nicola. She held her hand out. In her hand, he put her rabbit's tail.
Oh.
He had let the rabbit out, thinking, they need
some exercise.
Need some exercise. Then when he tried to get them back in, he couldn't. So he found a plant pot and threw it over her rabbit. And went, so the plant pot's over the rabbit, but the tail's sticking out. So he grabs the tail, lifts the plant pot thinking the rabbit will be stuck. No, the rabbit runs off, the tail still in his hand.
Oh.
Sorry, Nicola, for retelling that.
Your school's address saved on the
So, yeah. Don't be chopping off any rat's tails for me.
Yeah.
It'll just bring back more trauma.
Okay, I'll send it with it.
That'll be painful, but also hilarious. I wonder. Did you then obviously attempt to use the tail for magic?
Well, I think I was about 8 at the time.
So no, that sounds like a definite no.
No, these were also the same 2 rabbits that we thought were both boys, and turned out they weren't.
But you can't tell with an animal if it's I'm assuming. How would you tell if it's a male or female?
Because the male has an appendage that the female doesn't.
I'm aware of how
it's called a penis.
Well,
they do have them.
No, but essentially, apart from lifting it up and playing with its fur, you won't be basically.
Yeah, they were sold to us as 2 boys, but hers turned out to be the female. So that Christmas, we ended up with 7 baby rabbits.
Yeah, see, that makes complete logical sense then.
And we kept one of them because it was white and had red eyes, and called it Christmas.
That's a good look for rabbit though. The white with the red eyes. It's
Yeah, we've got one. We've got Pip.
Nothing beats a demonic looking animal. But,
we have one of those.
It's outstanding.
But ours gives you kisses.
So not for a ritual sacrifice then.
No. Pip is lovely. Pip is 1 year old this Christmas because we got him for Christmas last year. And he's lovely. But you'd think it would be nice and sweet to the kids. No, its favorite person in the house is the one person who didn't want to get a rabbit.
That's logical.
Husband.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
My
husband didn't want to get a rabbit.
That's how it always works. My brother-in-law didn't want a dog. They got a dog. Now it's his dog.
Yeah, Pip is basically my husband's rabbit more than anyone else's right now. Gives him kisses.
Interesting. So then it'll be his decision to sacrifice it for power later on in the story. because essentially he has formed a bond with it, and then shattering that bond of betrayal will gain him the ability to cast his spells.
It will also shatter the love his children have for him.
But then that gains more power. You see where I'm coming from, a building of what again. This is again. I thought you people were British. This is Warlock 101. Like I thought you guys were descended from druids of Celts. This is standard magic that we're talking about here. Stock standard spell casting, like not at all.
All the time, won an argument with my wife. I do not need any more power.
That's true.
That's going in the soundbite.
So you're storing this power, but again, to what purpose will you be using the power? For what item will you acquire with said power?
She's like, please stop.
He knows now. He knows he's in trouble now.
He's choosing not to speak.
Which is a rarity.
Now, Jamie,
Yeah.
I've given my wish list of stories I want created. If Rebecca Cassells found some magical free time in her development cycle, what story would you want crafted?
I don't know. She's pretty busy.
Oh, look at this. The writer amongst us, the one who's like, I'm going to be an author. What? Make a story. I don't know. It's like, come on.
No, like,
I don't think you understand how hectic my schedule is.
I'm fully aware.
I would settle to put some input in on the Cat Graham Henry Cavill, but maybe the chess idea. The chess idea, the chess game, Chris.
Ah, yes, the erotic chess. Excellent.
And it's all implied.
Oh well, maybe they could be on a break from.
Yes, they're on a break playing chess, and the game is extremely erotic. Fantastic.
No, and to put some tension in, it's set mid pandemic, and no one's allowed to touch.
Imagine that.
Everything's implied.
Yeah, you see, that's a bit of a sore subject for me. Because you've got to remember, I worked through the pandemic, and so did all my carers. And
That's right. Yeah.
I got to see what lockdown did to too many people.
Yeah.
It's still having an effect now. So
I would imagine so. It'll take some time it'll take many more years to recover.
Yeah.
From that, I'd say.
Hence why Matt Hancock is now eating every disgusting animal appendage there is.
Yeah.
If only we could get that level of cathartic release. Like that's
we need that over here.
We need that over there here, but no, that's
they're all getting re-elected over here.
Yes. That is true.
Don't get me started on our politics over here, because then I will probably, my chair will be pushed to the side and my husband will take over.
Okay, happy thoughts.
No.
Yeah, happy thoughts.
We all understand that prime ministers are temporary in nature now. That's fine. We get this concept. Like we've done the same thing with ours, where it's
we're like 4 and 5 years.
Exactly. We get this. We get the idea.
Neil's just said, hold my beer.
We understand temporary nature over here as well.
Yeah. No, I think what can I say to make it a more cheerier subject? My daughter came joint first place in her ballroom and Latin dancing competition. There we go.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Was that tonight or the other day?
No, that was a few weekends ago. A very proud mummy moment. So if she ever looks back and listens to this when she's over 18, obviously, she can hear how much her mummy's proud of her.
Why over 18? I don't think I've said anything slightly inappropriate at all. I could have gone again. If anything,
I think the word camel penis has been used in this.
yes, but again, that's applying a
And you
human
also
eating.
questioned the genitalia of her rabbit.
Correct, by saying that you have to molest your rabbit to find the genitalia. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
now we've got
she's
now,
not
now
watching
we've
this till she's-
That's just science, Jamie. How else are you meant to find the genitalia? Again, what is the more scientific term than molest when you're trying to find a rabbit's parts?
Gender identification.
Yeah, but are you really doing that, or are you flipping your rabbit over and then?
It depends what your intentions are, Chris. And it sounds like you're a duck.
No, I am not a duck. I don't grow a new weaponized penis every year. Thank you very much. Although that would be amazing. I don't do that. Although if you had one power, if there was a superhero out there, that'd be a great power to have. I hope Rebecca Cassells isn't a fan of ducks or actually that would be a great supernatural book about a supernatural duck. About a supernatural duck.
You see, whenever someone mentions like ducks and stuff, I always think back to the Chick and the Duck in Friends.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
That was a long time ago TV series.
Yes.
It does not hold up.
Says you.
Oh, shots fired.
Oh.
But this is also coming from someone who said, Chris says that the Tomb Raider movies with Angelina Jolie still holds up, and
Yeah,
I watched them, and they do not.
Well, of
hold
course
up.
they still hold up. She's
No,
got like armored bras to keep them held up.
That's what I'm talking
Her
about.
English
Yes.
accent is spectacular and flawless in that film. It is a flawless masterpiece, crafted, and it's
Again,
arguably
There's you.
the greatest video game movie of all time, which is not a very high bar to jump across, but there it is.
Oh, yeah, I will agree to the games. I did have the original game on my PlayStation.
I think everyone had the original game.
Yeah, I did have that, along with Abe's Odyssey and Final Fantasy, obviously.
Obviously, again, you're a fan of Final Fantasy VII. Well, we all know 8 is superior, but again, that's more.
No. There's an
Oh.
argument. There's an argument. It goes 7, 9, then 8.
Oh no! Oh, okay. Listen here. 8 is superior by story elements, characters to 9. 9 was a throwback to an old era that didn't make sense after coming from.
9's main character had a monkey tail.
8's main character said whatever quite a lot and folded his arms and was brooding.
Yeah, wimp.
No, he was not a wimp. He was the hero, the reluctant hero in many regards.
I'm going to win this argument.
All right,
I am.
All right.
Because this is a passion of mine. Okay.
Oh, you have not
Final
seen my
Fantasy
action
VII.
figures.
Final Fantasy VII, by far the best, not just because of its main characters, but because it has Sephiroth.
Yes. Oh, Sephiroth is an iconic villain. I am not.
Not just iconic. He was the game-changing villain.
I will concede the point about Sephiroth being just absolutely says again.
Did you not gasp and hold your breath when he appeared out of nowhere with the longsword to destroy Ares?
Yes.
Did that not just break your heart and think, thank God there's Tifa still?
I mean, I was always Team Tifa anyway, but I mean, that's not.
I was always Team Tifa.
I mean, that's just that. Like anyone who's
But
like,
in that moment, did you go, thank God it wasn't Tifa?
Well, no. If again, it was If it was Tifa, there would be a blood rage required and sacrifices of. Again, that would be the John Wick. There'll be Cloud's John Wick moment. I guess it's. That's it's a strong argument, but I would argue that Renoir and Squall's relationship was a much more well thought, much more better constructed in terms of, finality. They, rather than Seven's slightly open, did Cloud and Tifa ever get together? Maybe.
But I actually quite adore open-ended stories, because with a very finalized closing ending, it makes the fantasy of the person who's played the game go, oh, that might not have been the ending I wanted. Whereas by leaving it just a little bit open, your own imagination takes place, and you can sort of go from the implied ending, make your own happy ending for those characters in a way.
Look, but I don't think anyone else wanted Squall to not end up with Renoa. Maybe Quistis' hot teacher. Again, I get that one. That makes complete logical sense. That she had a whip, so I mean, I get that. But that was the perfect ending because it was, again, final. It resolved itself.
You're basing your argument on one part, which is the ending. For me, it's the whole journey. And 7 has the better overall story and side quests and world. I mean, come on, didn't you? I spent hours trying to make sure that I got that block chocobo.
Oh, I mastered the chocobo racing. I had legendary fast, except for my green chocobo who wanted to sprint the entire time, and I didn't know why he would do that, but that was his decision. Made racing with him almost barely impossible. But again, I would argue that yes, look, 7 was absolutely game-changing and a masterpiece because obviously.
Oh, we lost him.
I think he froze then.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, the internet doesn't agree with
game-changing. It's game-changing, and it was a masterpiece because obviously it was doing a lot of things that were different. It was the first time I think the game was on multiple discs, and everyone was so shocked that was even a thing that a game would be of that size. And so I'm not going to argue that it's not iconic, but I would argue that, and yes, you can disagree all you want. Squall meeting Renoa at the dance, having to watch her golf with his arch rival, having his arch rival then kill, one of his summons, finding out implied in terms of his family heritage and his ongoing quest to be dragged into a war simply because of her, in the end making the sacrifice, and then depending on your level, him being alive at the end, is a far more enjoying story because it is beginning, middle, and end. Whilst with Final Fantasy VII, because they've diluted it with their bazillion spin-offs and then their new game where they're changing the entire story and plot, it does tarnish its legacy somewhat.
But if they did the same to 8, you'd say the same thing.
If they tarnish the legacy of 8, yes, I would say that.
But the reason they are doing it to 7 is because of how great it was. They're clinging on to 7 for its popularity, for its story, for its characters, because of how great they are. They're not doing it to 8 because 8 doesn't have what 7 has.
At this point, Chris, would you like to tag in Neil? Would you like to bring him in for some help?
No, I'm fully aware that my ranking of 8 over 7 is controversial in many circles. But again, but 8. But okay, look, I will concede that 7 you could definitely say is better than 8. You could like, again, from just by purely, if you're looking at the pure metrics of fandom, toys, action figures, erotic stories, Japanese animations on Tifa, you could argue that yes, 7 does stand alone in that regards. But
and now do you understand why my husband clings onto that one victory?
Yes, I am sensing the theme there. But
we will be sending Neil a medal
and some sort of meat platter of handsome rats. of the most handsome rats I can find in the bush. But I will just say one thing though: putting 9 above 8 is ludicrous in every sense of the term. Ludicrous.
Because
9 had nothing. 9 was this
9 had fun.
Fun.
Yes. Fun. It had a whimsy to it. It had a whimsy to its tale. Come on. Sid was a hopping frog for most of it. And it just, you could enjoy that game. It had a lot of when Vivi was a great character in that one. Zidane, I genuinely found that game fun to play. It was polar opposites to 7, which is why I think I enjoyed it so much, because you had the seriousness of 7, and then Final Fantasy 9 was just it had more. It didn't just seem doom and gloom all the time. There was a lot of whimsical moments in that one. Well, it did have a serious storyline. It had a very, very action-packed storyline, but the characters intermittently had fun, and they gave you little side quests which made you go, oh, this character is really actually quite funny. I mean, the only one that you could say that with for Final Fantasy 7 was Yuffie.
Yeah.
You know, all the other characters were very serious, very down to earth. You had Vincent, you had Barrett, you had Tifa, Kate Sith. They were all very serious characters apart from Yuffie. Whereas in this other one, there's a lot more like, come on, Freya, she's like a kangaroo.
Again, yeah. And that's again, maybe that's also one of my issues with that game itself, is because it was such a departure from, this, what I would consider more mature storytelling in 8, then finishing 8, loving 8 so much, and then going into 9, and then going with this weird, whatever, as you mentioned, it very, whimsical game.
I think the reason why maybe 9 comes before 8 for me is because 7 was such a great game for me that when I tried to play 8, I felt let down, and then I spent a few years not playing the game, and then when 9 came out, I gave it a chance. I was like, you know what, I'm having fun with this. So maybe it's a personal thing of, because I went straight from 7 to 8, didn't enjoy 8 because of 7, but then 9 was so different that I enjoyed that.
That makes sense from a personal level in terms of why you would rank that as such.
Although that's a personal one.
Having said that, you'd argue 4 is stronger than all of them, but again, that's a whole separate other conversation in terms of because with Final Fantasy 4 you had Cecil, who was the Dark Knight, with that fulfilled the prophecy and fought the shadow self to become the Holy Sword Paladin, fulfilling the prophecy.
I was too young for 4 when that came out.
Yeah. Well, I think we all were, but I replayed that obviously. I think fairly recently, because there's been a bazillion releases of all the games, so I think that's one of the strong one. Jamie on this particular call hates Final Fantasy.
No, I played. The only one I played is Final Fantasy 7.
Here's the weirdest thing I would say with that, Jamie, and Rebecca. I hope you can cast some light on what the hell. Jamie loves D&D. D&D has a turn-based combat system because it's a D&D. But he hates Final Fantasy because it has a turn-based system. And I'm sitting there going like, what is your...
D&D has something that that Final Fantasy doesn't have. Which is Final Fantasy is a set story. It's a set.
You're agreeing with Jamie.
Quest. It's a set. Yes, it's turn-based, but the turn-based is very selective. Okay. D&D, you create your character, you create your motives, you create everything about yourself, and use your own motives to make your decisions on your turn. Whereas with Final Fantasy, you have to use logic and strategy.
Yes.
You have to think. It's not a quick like, you know that Tifa's running out of XYZ, so that whoever's next turn is to thing needs to throw a potion. With D&D, it's about choices. Do I go down this path or this path? Do I use this sword or this? It's all a bit more imaginative.
Wow. So
And
you
you have a bit more-
also apply to Jamie's wrong school of thought. That's,
It's not the wrong school of thought. It's a different school of thought.
Which happens to be the right, but that's another,
Wow. This almost feels like collusion that you've like that you. It sounds like you've pre-prepared some of these answers, Jamie.
No, I just genuinely. Let's remember. I also one of my other favorite games is World of Warcraft. Okay, which it's got a lot of choices, a lot of variety, a lot of.
Yep.
You can play the game in many different ways.
See, I'm Final Fantasy 14 over World of Warcraft as when I was online gaming, and because for a while, and the reason why I love it so much is because I've been I was starved for a traditional Final Fantasy story. Final Fantasy 14 fills that need of basically your traditional Final Fantasy story arc. It's traditional Final Fantasy. Whilst then you had like 13 and you had 15 and you had those.
For 13, I tried to play it, but literally the first 2 hours of playing that game, I was literally just going,
Yeah.
So I lost interest after the first 2 hours.
13 and 15 are the ones that I actually have not finished. They were like 13 was the first Final Fantasy I never finished. 15 was also, I didn't care for playing the boy band version of the game that they decided they wanted to release. And then although I thought that was a very good look at Japanese society and culture at the time, on terms of male and female relationships, where they're saying this girl is the love of your life. Why? Because we told you so. It's like, but what's their stuff like? Why is she the love? Because we said so. It's like
me with my books. I can't just say, oh my God, this person is the love of my life for no reason. I have to have a whole universe built as to why Damien and Holly love each other. It's not here's two characters, you love each other, go.
Exactly. See, and that's why I went down the Final Fantasy 14 rabbit hole, because I wanted a traditional Final Fantasy story, and then hopefully 16, because it's made by the same people that did 14, will be back to a traditional Final Fantasy story. Unlikely, but again, give it hope. I have hope because I have to have hope in something.
We always need hope in something. Always.
Except for Jamie, he doesn't like hope.
Apparently.
I actually disagree with that.
Really?
I do. Do you know why?
Why?
He supports other authors.
Look at Jamie and his support.
Well, no, if you don't have hope, you don't help other people to, promote their work. You don't help other people to, have a voice and have a say. Someone with no hope would not give other people a chance.
Well, there you go. I've never thought of it that way. Maybe because I see Jamie as this gloomy man who lives on the mountain, which he does. He lives on a mountain, but But there you go. If I've learned one thing from this entire piece, it is that Jamie gives others hope. So much
Not
so
that he gives others hope, that he has hope in others.
Well, there you go. That means, Jamie, because of this hope you're giving others, we are expecting you to then finish any one of the novels you've been speaking about in terms of that you've been writing about, because again, you've had 1,000 different ideas, 1,000 different scenarios and stories. You just have to pick one, sit down, finish it.
Well, when I get off work, at a reasonable hour, then I usually sit down and I start working on stuff.
Good.
What time do you normally finish work?
I'm usually home by 6, so I start at 6. I get home anywhere between 5:30 and 6:30, and I work 6 days a week. Normally, I got today off, but
Although that's your choice though on the 6th day.
it is my choice. Yeah.
Well, there you go. So look, maybe take every second weekend,
Yeah.
lock yourself in a room and write.
Well, I next month is Christmas, so I'll have a lot of time off.
That's good. And if you're struggling to write in a room, what we can do is we will buy a device and we'll attach it to some sort of electrical shock collar. And we will get one of those dog training devices and we'll put it around your neck. And then when you put the barricade around your head, there's a flag barricade, and then if you walk outside the flag barricade, it shocks the dog. We will do that with you, and then make it so that you can't leave your room. Then you're forced to write.
Okay, or you can go with my plan.
What's your plan?
My plan is the best motivators I have for writing is my beta group. A select few who I share what I'm doing with on a, as I'm doing it. Having them
that's good.
say, those girls are it for me. If I didn't have them, I wouldn't be writing at all.
The problem with me is I go, hey, people, do you want to read this? And they go, yeah, I'll read it. And I never hear from them. That's
the wrong people. You need to find a group of the right people.
You need to go on to not that I'm telling you have to. That sounded very much like an order, like I was talking to my husband. What I would suggest you do is, I found my brownie group through going on to a social media page for romance readers.
All right, yeah.
Okay, and saying, I'm writing a book, I need volunteers to join. So you go to the people, you find a social group that is actually your target audience.
Yeah.
And ask for up to 30 people to join a private group. They become your beta readers. And then you'll find out of that 30, I got 8 to 12 girls who have just been my rock. Cool. Because they don't know me, because they've come to know me as the author.
Yeah.
Not as Rebecca, who, up until recently didn't actually have a voice about writing.
Well, there we go. Look, so we have 2 schools of thought here on how
electrocution or
my school of thought, where we torture Jamie into writing by electric shock and other such devices that I will implement, or joining a writing group and finding support.
Please cast your votes in the comments below.
I still maintain mine will get better results, but I do believe, Jamie, you're probably leaning towards the writing group rather than the shock collar. Is that correct?
To be fair, though, if you left it to a vote, the next time we see you, all of your beard will be singed from all the electricity.
Or I'll actively be wearing a dog collar.
So dog collar? No, yes.
I said, or. Are you reading
fine.
Into it?
But that's good advice for that she's provided for writers. If they want to have their stories told, is yes, find the right people to read.
I mean, in the last video, I promoted another writer's book. In this one, I actually want to have a shout out to my friend Angela, because she is one of my original beta readers. And she's just released her first book because she was my beta reader. Because it was a daft thing. They all sort of got a little bit whingy over the fact that I was going away for a weekend and couldn't write the next chapter, and I left them on a cliffhanger. And I said, hey, the next chapter will be worth it. It's a bit of a heated scene. The next chapter, it's the scene you've all been waiting for. They went, oh, but that can't take you. I went, it's one of the hardest scenes to write. Believe it or not, those scenes where they're getting all hot and steamy is actually one of the most hardest scenes to write. So I dared them all. I said, tell you what, I dare you all to write 1,000 words on a heated scene, and then I will give you the next chapter. Angela was the only one who took that dare seriously.
Ooh.
And I got those 1,000 words off her, and I read them, and I turned around and went, Angela, where's the rest of this story?
Ooh.
Where is the rest of this?
Yeah.
I need the rest of this story. And it's turned into a 50-odd chapter book that she has literally released this week.
Oh, awesome. Where can we get it?
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Amazon.
who is this author? Well, tell me
Angela
a bit about
Darling.
the book.
Angela Darling. Okay. You'll find her on Amazon. Howl in the Shadows is the book. It's in the same genre as mine. So it is werewolves, but it is also witches.
Ooh.
Okay.
Awesome.
And do you know what? I shouldn't say this, but she's going to surpass me.
The student has become the master.
She is. She's so imaginative and so creative with her storyline. She has such little twists and plots, and it's just been a pleasure.
See, Chris, this is what supporting someone looks like.
But again, we don't know if Rebecca put a shock collar on Angela, would the same results not be achieved?
Well, I couldn't because she's in a different country.
What country is she in?
She's in America.
You're right. That would be a hard flight.
My support group is all over the world. I've got people in America, Brazil, Sweden. Liliana came over first from Sweden for a few days. That was amazing. I loved meeting her in person. She's the sweetest girl in the world. Holly came over from Indiana for 2 weeks with her son to meet, just to say hi. You know, it's been amazing. You know.
But that, what you've said right there is the thing that, you know, in my normal boring, you know, upper management roles in companies and corporations, we look that's one of the key elements. And also, it's also one of the key elements in anime storytelling which is always the concept of that your student will always surpass you. And if they don't surpass you, you've failed as their teacher. Jamie struggles with this concept because he wouldn't want anyone to surpass him, but the concept is, it's true. You want to train someone, you want to nurture them in their talents. You know, much like if they did Star Wars right, you'd have Luke Skywalker Jedi Academy, but then he would be the strongest Jedi, but then the next generation would surpass him because he had passed on the knowledge and they'd learned that, and then the next generation of that Jedi would surpass that generation. That is how things are meant to work.
Ryan Johnson.
Ryan Johnson. Anyway, again, I don't want to bring Paul Rebecca into that conversation. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole just yet. That's good. And so, Jamie, the next question is obviously, you as a support man, let us use your support channel and let us find this Angela and see if you can book an interview with Ryan to be safe, because essentially, you know, let us ease her into an interview
insanity
with some softball questions rather than my brand of interviewing.
Yeah, we'd love to have her on.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Angela, she's amazing. You know, she's such a character. You know, I do adore her, and she's been one of the biggest supporters for me. I mean, I could rally off a whole bunch of names, but Angela's that one person who, when I'm having a bad day, I don't want someone going, oh, it'll be all right. Her and Lils especially, they're the type of girls who'll go, right, where's my plane ticket? I'm coming to kick some ass.
Oh, nice.
You know, they're the ones that'll be like, no, you're right, Rebecca, you have complete, you sometimes you don't want people going, oh, but it'll be all right, stop your whinging, stop your crying. You want people to go, yeah, you're right, cry your eyes out, then dry them, and then we'll go kick ass.
Mm-hmm.
They're my girls.
That's, you know what, Jamie, I think to help you with your writing, you need to start in this romance genre, and then join this.
Start writing romance.
Join this group of girls.
I'll
It
make
sounds
him an
like that's what you
honorary
need.
brownie. He can come into the brownie group for a little while.
I think Jamie, that's what you need. I think.
Brownies.
Yep.
Everyone
Absolutely.
needs brownies.
Obviously. It sounds
Come on,
like
hashtag chapter 42. Everyone needs brownies.
we have now a plan for you, Jamie, to get you off to get continue writing. One, shot collar therapy, probably the best one, but again, I'll leave that up to you in terms of that one. Write a romance story and then join this branding group, but it sounds like a great group of individuals. And then obviously 3, support that group with their writings, with your channel, and then help them grow. Jamie, might I suggest with your first novel, let us do something again fairly tame and fairly simple. About Henry Cavill, loving father, raising a small child by himself, then hires a babysitter who was Kat Graham, and then obviously then their relationship develops further. You can throw in a supernatural element, say that they're a house of dragons, and so they're the last of a dragon bloodline, and she's obviously human, doesn't know that he's that he's the former dragon king who's throned by his wicked cousin. But again, I'll leave the details up to you. But let us start you on this smart journey of writing, and then we see where we land.
And on that note.
On that note, Jamie, let us again. First of all, let us thank our guests for coming along and allowing us to berate her with a million questions about implied incest and various different forms of insanity. So, Rebecca, thank you for coming on. Would you like to plug your wares one last time for us?
Oh, why the hell not? Yeah, head on over to Amazon and look up the Rising Dawn series. And also the spin-off, Accepting the Unacceptable. You won't regret it. And you find me on Facebook under Rebecca Cassells books. And also you can join the pack, the Rising Dawn pack group, which is actually set up by the girls from my brownie group, where they all discuss and support, because sometimes there are touchy subjects in my book. And they're there to support. If someone finds a particular subject matter and they want to get something off their chest, they can do in that group, which is great. I think that's a fantastic thing that they've set up. And then you can also find me on TikTok, Rebecca Cassells author.
Excellent.
Cool.
And Jamie, would you like to promote your wares now?
Oh, you want me to promote my wares?
Oh, where can people find you? Blah, 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 blah.
Blah, blah, blah.
Come on, we've got to support you now.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, I have an Instagram. I go under J.A. Bryden. That's my author stuff, but I'm pretty easy to find. I've got a website that I don't do anything on anymore. I have a book that I wrote with Chris called Letters from the Emu War. And yes, Chris, we just heard from our publisher because it's getting republished under a publisher. And the process has started.
Excellent.
So
I still say my original name was better, but then you said it was offensive and borderline just offensive.
No, I didn't say it was offensive. I said people might find
Letters to Emu Gma is a better name than Letters of the Emu War. But
I
again,
remember my husband telling me about the Emu Wars
Yeah,
years ago.
Australia lost
And then
the
when
war
I
to
told
birds.
him
Correct.
about that book, he's like, I know that book.
Australia lost the war to emus.
Yeah.
I know. I remember my husband telling me about that. He just thinks it's a fantastic story, and he can't believe someone's actually written about it.
Yeah, well, funny enough, they're making a movie on it. John Cleese, Rob Snyder.
Oh, of course, it's got to be John Cleese.
Yeah, and I sent my book to John Cleese a month or two ago.
I should send mine to Henry Cavill.
Oh, let's all send our stuff to Henry Cavill. If anyone out there has the contact details for Henry Cavill, let us know. No, message us. Don't let us know in the comments. Message us privately.
Yeah, please. Not like I'm going to stalk him or anything.
No, not at all. Not at the, maybe a little bit. I mean, again, a little stalking never hurt anyone.
Yeah. No, but that's it. I got 2 books out. I got Letters from the Emu War and Buck's Night, which is what would happen if the zombie apocalypse happened at a medieval themed Bucks party. So that's more of a novella, and it's, it was my first attempt at writing something different. Not as successful as emus fighting, war, but
not as successful as Civil War based emu. Not as successful as Civil War based emu letters.
Yeah.
In the documentary style of a Ken Burns documentary.
Yeah.
Yes, correct. That is. That is slightly different.
Yeah.
And where can they reach you in terms of this podcast? If they have any questions, comments, complaints?
Oh yeah, if you want to just if you're an author and you want to come on for an interview, if you have random comments or queries, thetrueandthefictional @gmail.com, or check us out on Instagram at stories_podcasts. They're probably the 2 most reachable places you can find us.
And also, can I suggest that anyone listening to this show their support for you guys, because you really do help a lot of people out by giving them a voice. So what is it, that buy me a coffee?
Yeah, buymeacoffee.com/STTATF. The link will be in the show notes. Yeah, you can support us there. You can even come on and compete against Rebecca Cassells for promotion and support.
And we're more than interested in hearing your version of the Henry Cavill Catagram story themed lines as well. Again, action, sci-fi, doesn't matter the genre, as long as those 2 are the main characters.
They can be doing anything. They can be playing beach volleyball. They can be taking over the roles of other people, like Henry Cavill as instead of Tom Cruise in Maverick. That'd be an interesting one as well. I don't think Henry Cavill would fit in the plane, but
I don't think they make the planes that's for the size of that. Yeah, correct. I think and let us hope in the next Superman they don't take the if they don't take the Marvel approach and digitaling out the man's bulge as they did in Wakanda. But that's we won't. Yeah, there we go. On that note, on a man's hot pants and bulge. Thank you for listening, and as we say every single time in the episode, we bid you adieu.